What's up, Quakes fans? We are back after two unfortunate losses, both of them 3-2. One was to Seattle, in Seattle, and one was at home against FC Dallas. Devin, obviously, two disappointing results. What do you think that they mean for the season going forward?
Uh, I think it was a little metaphorical for what just happened right now. I thought I had a spider on my finger, so I was looking down to see if there was a spider on my finger.
Mm-hmm.
But I was also brushing away the cobwebs, and I feel like that's a little metaphorical in terms of how the Quakes are doing right now, because in one match week we've seen two losses, both results ending up in 3-2. It's not the most disappointing result, personally, because both games were quite entertaining, to be honest. I know there was a lot of hounding at the refs, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, the Earthquakes need to put the ball in the net to win games, and they need to keep the ball out of the net to win games. So on that front, yeah, disappointing to see both losses, but at least it was an entertaining game for me. What are your thoughts, Abram?
Yeah, I mean, there is still a lot of positives to take from both matches. We didn't look bad. We weren't like dominated. You look at the stats at the Seattle game, and you're like, okay, well, they were dominated in that game. And well, I'll say that yeah, we were defending a lot. It wasn't our best game. We were still able to score two goals, and we still played pretty well. It was just unfortunate what happened, and some calls by the ref didn't really help us. And games are gonna happen like this. I'm not personally too worried, and I think that it's pretty befitting of a team that's been like running on fumes, that's been doing so well for so long this season. Um, is gonna have games where missing two of their best players, three if you count Dewan. Yeah, maybe we'll lose a few, right? Speaking of positives, I want to give a quick shout out to Mario, who approached me at the Quakes game 2 days ago now. Yeah, on Saturday.
Something
Shout
like
out
that.
to you, and he said he likes our content, so appreciate that. Um, but that was, you know, he asked me how Bruce is feeling about because after the press conferences when I ran into him, he asked me how Bruce is feeling, and I'm like, not good. He's not in a good mood after that, and he was a little bit surprised, but like, yeah, this was a better Bruce than we saw versus Seattle. After Seattle, he was extremely distraught. Devin, you got to ask him a question. And I'll also point out in the press conference after the Seattle game, the Quake communications officer said to us, one of you can talk to Nick, one of you can talk to Bruce, but we're going to keep it to one per. And I was like, I'll talk to Nick because Bruce cannot be in a great mood after the antics that just happened on the field where Sarakin was given a red card. He looked pissed on the field, and so I was like, Devin, you got this one. You could take the brunt of this. Also, because I had questions for Nick, and you had stated on the Discord that you had questions for Bruce, so that's why I let you have that one.
Yeah, I think in terms of rapport as well, I think Bruce and I connect a little better, unfortunately, than you and Bruce, and it was good to have me ask that question. But I had asked Bruce what it was like, to walk into the locker room at halftime 1-1, despite the overwhelming performance that Seattle put forth on us, and he kind of gave a surprising answer, and he's like, it wasn't actually that bad of a performance. I thought we had played well, we moved the ball well, but I'm like, in what possession sense did you think we moved the ball well if we barely had the ball?
Yeah, I think you had added the caveat of it being like the second team. Like barely any of our starters were on the pitch at that time, and I think considering that, it makes a little bit more sense. Our midfield that is usually very dominant, we didn't have those guys, and I think there needs to be a conversation about Ian Harkes because I do like him, right? But the Ian Harkes that we saw last year was a lot more capable, a lot more calm on the ball, and able to do more. I feel like than this year's Ian Harkes. I don't know what it is, but he's not the same guy. Do you
Yeah,
have?
he's a little more frantic this season than he was last
Yeah,
season. I feel like last season he was composed, like he had just brought himself into a new role and he's trying to understand what Bruce really wants out of this team specifically. And now that he's more comfortable, it's almost like he's overdone it. Do you get the same feeling?
yeah. I don't know if it's that he's like not happy that he's not the first name on the team sheet to go in the midfield. And I can understand that, but I don't think I don't know because I don't get the sense that he's like trying to overperform. It's just like he looks shaky. He looks like he had like, two Red Bulls before the match and is like, freaking out. Maybe he doesn't want to mess up. I can't really figure out what his psychology is. He didn't look super comfortable when we spoke to him like last month or maybe 2 months ago at this point on at a media availability. I'm sure you remember that, Devin, but he was very nice. He's a great guy, but he didn't look like the smooth, calm, collected Ian Harkes that we've come to know. And I think that also is showing itself on the pitch. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah, for the most part, I agree. I actually see a lot of cracks in Ian Harkes' game, and that, maybe fatherhood is not like catching up to him or anything, but
No
it's keeping
sleep.
up. Yeah, exactly. No sleep,
Maybe
keeping
he
him
is
up
on
late at
two
night.
Red Bulls.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
maybe
might be
like
on three
actually.
Red Bulls. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Um,
we we know a new father in shout out Hameen in the Discord, one of the tectonic patrons. Um, he is struggling with sleep. And now I think of it, yeah, Ian Harkes also has a new baby, and I'm sure that is affecting his sleep, affects his body, affects everything. I can't believe we didn't consider that until now, Devin. Do you have more to say?
no, I think we basically covered that. I genuinely think fatherhood is a pretty big factor for the not uncomfortable levels that we see with Ian, but just more of trying to find his rhythm and groove again. Just as like a person, just adapting to something completely new. And I know fatherhood and motherhood as well takes a huge toll out of everyone's everyday life. Like when you plan to have a baby, you got to make sure that you're ready for it because it's not like it hits you hard, but there's a lot of things you got to do to be a good parent. And I know Ian 100% is a good parent, but I'm sure it takes somewhat of a percentage out of your professional life.
Yeah, 100%. So whatever that is, I hope that we can see the old Ian Hark soon. I don't think it's like something where we shouldn't have him in the team. I do think that he is like behind Bo and Vieira. He is the next best option. Um, so yeah, definitely want to keep seeing him. But there has been like for me, there's just that question of like what's wrong with Ian. But glad we're on the same page there. It's not just me being crazy. Speaking of midfielders who I feel were a little bit shaken, Bo LaRue, he had a decent game in the first half, especially. He looked okay, and then he scored a banger. And then he looked really good, and then he missed a penalty, and then wasn't the same for the rest of the match. Does that mirror your analysis at all?
Yeah, I think that mirrors almost exactly kind of what I'm thinking about with Bo's game. Ivan, shout out Ivan. He wrote a lot of notes throughout the game, and he sent it to us through emails. So I'm kind of skimming through that. But yeah, I mean, first of all, Bo's first goal should be goal of the year for the Earthquakes. I don't think we're gonna see a better goal out of any of our players than Bo Leroux. And again, yet like Bo just scores banger after banger. I don't think Bo will score a nonchalant goal. He just only scores bangers, and
The
that's why.
penalty was too easy.
So yeah, the penalty was too easy. He didn't want the penalty. Um, but no, on a serious note, I think Bo had a better than average game, but we didn't see him defend the way that we're used to seeing him defend. Obviously, because he's playing a new role. He's playing the 10. We're used to seeing him play the box to box 8, and he's sat back more in his natural position where he's able to intercept passes, tackle players off the ball, win possession. He didn't really get a chance to do that at the 10. And plus his pace as well, I think kind of slowed him down, um, at least at the cam. You see a little faster pace out of Nico, closer dribbling, easier to find space. Um, I think it was an awkward position for Bo. And
Hmm.
Abram, you had talked about it many times in earlier episodes. We had gone back and forth about whether or not Bo could be a backup 10 or not. And I think this kind of solidifies both of our opinions that, maybe Bo isn't the best option at the 10. Maybe Nick Fernandez is better than Bo at the 10. And this is me thinking out loud. We haven't had this discussion yet, but I think in terms of who the next best thing is at the 10, apart from Nico being injured, might actually be Nick Fernandez, because I would greatly prefer Bo as a box to box 8 over Ian Harkes. Leave Vieira at the 6, and that way the play will flow much smoother, and then everyone's roles is kind of just how it is and how it was for
Yeah.
the start of the season.
Yeah. I will say that like it's not the worst. He's not the worst 10 in the league. Like I think a worst option would be like put Montali at a 10, like the fourth string goalkeeper. We're not saying that Bo was bad at the 10. It's just it was clear that that's not his natural position. He actually, played very good for a good portion of the match. Uh, I think that there is a lot of skills that translate between an 8 and a 10, but not all of them. I think that if you aren't super familiar with soccer, you might think that like I don't know, Devin. Maybe I'm going crazy. Maybe I'm being elitist, but there are tendencies that a player in a natural position will have that will make it hard to adjust to other positions if they're not playing there super often or even recently. Like you can lose tendencies that make you like a better 10 if you're playing 8 too often. Like you just your mindset has to change. Like Bo is used to getting the ball and having the whole field in front of him, as opposed to getting the ball in the pocket and then already having to know what to do. And then, like you said, Devin, the quick twitch like movements that a 10 has, like a natural 10, isn't really what we're accustomed to seeing from Bo. Not that he doesn't have good dribbling, but it's in a different context, and that's the thing that makes the difference. That's why Bo looks awkward as a 10 versus somebody like Nick Fernandez, who is a natural to that position. He'll just do those things naturally. Now, can Fernandez launch a volley from outside the box first time into the top corner? Maybe. I never seen him do it though. I'm not going to say that he is not capable of doing that. I'd love to see him do it, but Bo can. So like there are things that Bo can do very well. He's good at passing with both feet. He can shoot from outside the box. Those are things that make him, a suitable candidate for a 10, but just not the best overall natural fit. And so I made a video last week, and both Bo LaRue and Buddha saw it, where I was saying that they might not be the best at the 10 position. And I obviously it's a short video, and so I couldn't like explain all the things that I'm explaining to you now. They are very good players. Buddha is an amazing winger. Bo is an amazing 8. But I couldn't say that in the short video, so they're watching it and they're like, "Oh, Abram thinks I'm not good at the 10."
They're professionals, Abram. They can play
Yeah,
anywhere. Okay.
and they didn't do the worst job in the world, but like Nick is the natural 10. He's not like better than any of them like in overall, but it's just like that's his position, right?
I think what essentially you're trying to get to here is
Yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
their players have certain attributes that will allow them to perform better at certain positions than other players. And Nick
Hmm.
Fernandez and Nico Sikeris both have attributes of agility, close dribbling, distribution that are better suited for that camp spot than Bolaru has and Oseni Buddha.
Well, so yes, that is essentially what I'm saying. But there's also just mental things that like you have habits as a player. Like say you're an attacking fullback versus a full out winger. You attack different. You receive the ball differently, and just those key differences are very subtle, but they do affect things in the way that the amount of time between you receiving the ball and being on the attack. It just those very small things do affect the game at the highest level, and that's why they're playing. Um, but in a pinch, Buddha could be a really good 10, sorry, because he has close dribbling. He's very nimble and can find combinations and stuff. Can shoot from outside the box, but it's just that he's used to playing winger, and so he's better at winger. He'd want to receive the ball naturally in a wider position rather than in the pocket, where it's like when Nico receives the ball, there's somebody on him right away, and he knows that he's always like receiving the ball as if he's going to be, attacked right away. Whereas when you receive it on the wing, you kind of have time to size up your man differently, and it's a whole different dynamic. And if you've played the game at a competitive level, not saying I played like a super high level, but at a competitive level, you understand these things, and I'm just trying to relay that information because like I do think these are great players, but the 10 is a really hard position to be naturally good at.
Yeah, it is a comfort zone thing too. Because I had played, as I had said in the interview with Tom Allen, I had played with the Enza Force for quite some time, and to play at that high level, you have to know what your comfort level is at certain positions, and know what you're good at, what you can bring to the table. Maybe what weaknesses you have that maybe you shouldn't put yourself in certain positions. Like, I would never be a center back. I'm not that tall. I'm not that strong. I mean, I am tall. I'm German, but I'm not that strong. So I'd get beat off the ball easily.
Well, here's the thing. Like here's the example. Okay, so Devon is very fast. Devon is left-footed, and Devon is pretty tall, like 6'1", around there. The physical attributes that you have, Devon, if somebody doesn't know like what position you like to play, they might put you at a center back, and you wouldn't do the worst job because you can catch most people. You are taller than most people, and so that center backs do that. But because you are comfortable playing as more of a forward or an attacker, you are better at that, right? It's not that you cannot ever play center back. It's just that you're more suited and more effective in your natural position, just because that's what you know how to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm like the Daniel Molay of
Yeah,
of
because
take.
if I'm the striker, which I'm not very fast anymore, I'm not getting past you if you're playing center back just because you're gonna catch me. But that doesn't mean that like in every situation that you'd be the best center back in the world. So
I love these Abram explanations. This is great.
I mean, my dad and I are always just talking about like the little nuanced thing that like it's hard to see if you don't know. And I'm trying to bring more of that. My dad's really gonna like this episode. We talk about, he calls it tendencies, and we talk about it for hours on end. And so that's what I thought about when I thought of Bolaru and Buddha being very good attacking players, just not necessarily being 100% suited to the 10. But I think we've pretty much exhausted this point. I like Nick Fernandez and what he brought to the team. He got a goal, his first MLS goal against Seattle.
Off a Nani pass, and it was his first MLS start.
Exactly. I wanted to talk about Nani. We were talking about Nick, but I actually wanted to talk about Nani, where he got that assist, and it was great for him to read that play, win that ball, and then pass it over to Nick Fernandez, who was in a better position to shoot within like the first 2 minutes, right? Like super early on. For the rest of the game, I didn't think that he wasn't getting involved enough. And when he got on the ball, he didn't make the right pass for me. Like it wasn't a great game for him again. And I'm sure that he could get better as time goes on, but this was the first time we saw him play like a good amount, and it wasn't, for me, I was disappointed in his performance. What do you think, Devin?
Yeah, I'm still under the impression that Nani needs to be used in a better, advantageous way to his attributes. Mm-hmm. He's tall. He should be given crosses. Mm-hmm. Let him stay in the box. Put him like a Wando. Just give him all the one-touch opportunities he can get, and I'm sure he'll put many of them away. But if you keep giving him the ball to his feet and his back's towards goal, then he's not going to do anything for you. And I know his hold-up play is better than average, but it's still, in my opinion, not that great because a lot of the defenders seem to strip him away from the ball, not even the ball away from him. So in that sense, I am I disapprove of the way we handle Nani, but it's good to see him press high in the first 2 minutes of that game, play it back to Nick Fernandez and get that goal. And it's funny because on the momentum chart that we see here against Seattle, there is no momentum in the first 2 minutes of the game. Like that's how quick the Earthquakes took to get that first goal.
Yeah.
And that's what we're used to seeing for the Earthquakes. We're used to seeing those quick introductory goals to give them the momentum for the rest of the game. It's unfortunate that the rest of the game Seattle had momentum, so we didn't really see much of Nani as well, just because of the fact that they held on to possession for so long. And a lot of the opportunities, and we'll go back to Nani in a second, but this is just off the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
The Earthquakes kept trying to play the ball out to our left-hand side through the wings, and none of our players seemed to catch up onto those long balls. It just kept getting, every pass kept getting overturned back to Seattle, and then Seattle just does what Seattle does best and maintains possession all the way from back to front and just generates another opportunity that either Daniel saved or was blocked by a Quakes player. So it was just really annoying to see that our attempt at strategy was just long through balls through the wits, because then again, that just takes Nani out of the question.
Yeah.
Do you have any extra thoughts on that?
I mean, I think that Nani isn't Preston Judd in that, they're both big guys, but Judd is different in that he is able to and much more willing to run onto those balls in behind and actually, be a threat in that way. Nani, I would say, isn't really that. He's not the slowest player I've ever seen, but he's not very fast. And, take that as you will. So yeah, I don't think that just lobbing it forward and being like, "Hey, go get it," is his game. It's Preston Judd's game. But yeah, it's not Nani's, and also it's much harder to get good attacks going in the final third without your natural 10. For this game, let me see. Did Buda line up at the cam position, or no? It was Fernandez. So yeah, Fernandez was the 10. He has one of the better ratings. I'm sure that's because of his goal. Somebody who was crucified in the Earthquakes, fan base was Max Floriani, even though he has a 7.0 match rating, as opposed to Reed Roberts, who has a 5.9. I thought that, Floriani did make a few good stops, a few good tackles, but wow, you can't give the ball up like that for no reason. Not that much pressure, just kicks it way too far forward in front of himself, thinking that he's gonna dribble past the guy. That was really amateur from Floriani there, and obviously leads to the last goal being scored. What did you make of his performance overall?
I just think in terms of our back line, and I'll get to Floriani a second, and our six, we really have to clean up our midfield and defensive third passing, especially under pressure. In the first third of the season, we used to do a really good job with playing out of pressure, finding the right triangles, switching the sides, or switching the field, sorry. But our back line, when it comes to Vieira, some occasions, and Roberts, as of late, just the last couple of games, I'm not even talking about the first 12 games of the season, just over the last 3 or 4, it seems like the Quakes, other teams may have just found out how to press the Quakes appropriately. But in our perspective, I think it's justified to say that the Quakes are kind of losing momentum. And maybe that's a factor of missing Nico and Werner, and it just affects the entire team's morale. But we've seen this from the Earthquakes, and in terms of playing well out of the back. But as of late, especially Reed Roberts, he hasn't had the best game in possession. I think he's second guessing himself a lot.
Mm.
Maybe that's just comes with experience. He hasn't really had much experience. He's only 22 years old. Let's not forget that. Still a young defender. Defenders go until they're like 39, 40 years old a lot of times. So he's got a long career left. We can be patient with Roberts, but at the same time, giving up these opportunities and giving up these chances for Seattle is not good. It's not good. And if we want to stay in the Supporter Shield contention, Reed needs to clean it up.
Yeah, I think it's a mental thing with Roberts. Last season he had a rough couple of games. There was like Flahan and Roberts, like they were in the exact same boat last year, where it was like, okay, that's pretty good. Oh, they just really messed it up really bad. Let's never see them again. And that was kind of like every game that they would play, they would do something good, and then immediately, have a hard time. And I think that's a mental thing, confidence, composure. That all that really matters. And I think Roberts has been a little bit shaken. Um, I hope he's able to shake it off because when he is at full capacity, he's very good. I like what he brings to the team. I I've been really struggling with Romney at left back. I think that like sure he's not terrible defensively, but like he can't do anything remotely creative. He is literally just a rock at the left, and that's really good when the other team has the ball. But like we cannot progress through his side, um, and that's really limiting. And so passing out from the back, especially when you don't have Vieira, when you don't have Bolaru, him being at left backs makes everything much harder. And I do like having Romney around. I think that he is a great center back. But man, I'm not liking him at the left back position. I really enjoyed having Jasinski play at left back instead, like he did in Dallas, which we should probably get onto. A much better game for us overall. Um, I think that yeah, we had a lot more momentum throughout. Better possession distribution for us by far. But yeah, I am curious about the point I was making about Romney at left back. Do you share that sentiment, or is like it's not working?
If it's a game of tortoise versus the hare, Romney is the tortoise,
Mm.
and everyone else who plays in that position feels like a hare to me. He's just really slow and like literally a rock. There's hardly much movement. Um, I would like Romney in the back line if it's a further set. How do I say this? A deeper set line than what we've seen
Like
lately.
parking the bus or something.
Almost like parking the bus. Yeah, I would love to see Romney in that because I think he does a good job with maintaining the back line, um, holding his ground, etc. But at the same time, this is where Dewan Jones is much needed because he's got good pace, good distribution, good chemistry, um, everything that you want to see out of a left back. And it's unfortunate that we're missing Dewan Jones and we have to play Jasinski and Romney because I just don't think Jasinski is quite not necessarily first team ready, but starter ready. And Romney is just not that guy at left back. So here we are, kind of struggling to find someone on the left side apart from Jamar Ricketts, who I know can do a good job, but we just need someone there on the left. But we'll get to this in a second. The Quakes are about to sign a new player who I think can do a good job for us in that
Hmm.
spot. But in the FC Dallas game, I think our left hand side was exposed due to Dallas's player on the right hand side.
Mm.
I was very concerned of that after the first half, and then the second half they persisted even further. Um, to which Jasinski was kind of the main target and was subbed after the 70th minute. So it seemed like Bruce Arena was well aware of that fact and maybe had to put someone else in just so Jasinski wouldn't get a worse rating than a 6.1,
Mm-hmm.
which is not great. But Daniel Muni with a 5.5. But yeah, anyway, so um,
Yeah, later
our
in that
left hand
match.
side. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, just the left hand side for both Seattle and Dallas was
Yeah.
just is not flowing very well.
Later in that match, they pulled out Jasinski, moved Rickett to the left back, which I felt that after we did that, we were able to move out from the left better or quicker because Rickett is able to do that. But there's still a problem with Ricketts where he's so volatile. It's an unstable factor where he can be super dangerous, right? He has so much ability to really hurt you or hurt the other team, but that is a double-edged sword in that he is too comfortable taking risks and losing the ball. And I say too comfortable because this is a game where we could have gotten a draw. Obviously, not the best result, seeing as for me we're much better than the Dallas team, but um, we lost the ball when we didn't need to, and I think that Ricketts, while he was somebody who you'd want to try and make things happen, I think that he needs to really pick his moments better because if he doesn't have that momentum for him, if he doesn't have the upper hand, then losing out on those possessions really hurts us. Um, and that's not what we want. I'd rather we try to recycle that if he doesn't have the upper hand. And that's not saying like, yeah, we like players who take risks. I think Devin would agree. Taking risks is a good thing, but when it's not favorable to you, then you should hold on to it. Just do a better choice because I felt like he was going into a situation that didn't favor him and would lose the ball that way, just trying to make something happen, trying to force it when there was better options at play.
Yeah,
Did,
I think you actually made a good point. Sorry
no, go ahead.
for interrupting, but there was one of those things I was watching too when I was just sitting with my family, and when the quakes decided to switch the ball, they kind of shifted it along the back line. But I personally don't think that shift was quick enough.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to switch the field, you have to know you're going to switch the field
Mm-hmm.
and then do it in a swift way so you can build up the field a little quicker, and shift back, switch the field again, slowly bringing the ball up the field, gaining momentum. We didn't do that very well. We kind of gave it to the center backs, and the center backs were indecisive in passing whether or not they wanted to continue the switch or play it back to where they received it. So I think in that sense, this is where I had thought Reed Roberts, Muni, and Floriani in Seattle were having a really hard time with being decisive.
Mm-hmm.
They were too indecisive, and it slowed down the momentum that Bruce we're normally used to seeing from this Bruce's squad 2026. I think in games to come, especially versus Colorado and Portland, if you want to switch the ball and if you want to sway possession from right to left or left to right,
Mm-hmm.
you have to do it in a swifter way. Otherwise, teams are going to call you out.
Exactly. And I know you have a heart out here, so I'm going to try and move us along. Um, One of the things that Vieira had said in the press conference that stuck with me was that this was a game where they probably could have, made sure to get a point rather than really trying to push for a win, which obviously ended up hurting them, and they got no points. Uh, did you agree with that sentiment, or was it like did you see it as a game that we should have tried to win?
I'm going to give Dallas a lot of credit. I think Dallas just played a really fierce game, and the best that we could probably have done in that game is draw.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the viewers watching could make a good point and be like, "Well, if Bo put the penalty in the back of the net, then this game will have a completely different dynamic, and we'll have the momentum, and Dallas will have to kind of be more on a front foot, which would give us better counterattacking opportunities." Yeah, totally agreed, but that didn't happen. So, we're sitting here talking about what ifs, and I think just the way the game played out, yeah, the refs were, in my opinion, pretty unfair. I don't think that last goal should have counted. To be honest, it should have been a foul on in Vieira's favor after he cleared it. The
Yeah,
player just kind of plowed right through him.
exactly. Yeah.
But with the way that Dallas played the game, apart from the refereeing, it was a good game, and I think Dallas should be given credit for their performance. And the Quakes just couldn't match the pace; they couldn't match their tempo, and they conceded three because of it. So. Yeah, there are two technical instances where maybe the Quakes were unfavored by the refereeing, but or not unfavored by the referee. It was more than two for
Yeah,
refereeing.
there was
But
definitely a handball that wasn't called in the box. For
and
the
it was
Quakes.
on the head,
Yeah, it was like
the
a
big screen too.
yeah, yeah.
So all the fans had seen it. It's just kind of unfortunate the ref did not look at the rules the way we had seen it versus what was that one game where there was that one handball call and we went crazy in the Discord about it.
I don't think I can help you there because that happens pretty often.
Yeah.
But yeah, we had talked about it last week with Saz. He kind of rolled his eyes when I pointed out that Dallas had over 2 xG just by only having 27% possession, and like I get why Saz doesn't like xG, and I knew that when I was saying it, but I was like, for the viewers at home, that just means that they were making chances, like they were able to do chances with very little possession. And Ronaldo Vieira kind of he emphasized that point of like when they defend fine, but when they attack fast, and that's what creates that kind of stat line, and that's what we saw. We were able to score on them, but when they were attacking, it was like direct, straight down the middle, and like Peter Musa, he's in double digit goals. Obviously, was going to be somebody that we're worried about. There will be better games when we have a more fit team. We will look much better. So I'm just waiting for this break to come up, so we can because dropping points is inevitable when two of your best players aren't on the field anymore.
Almost three at this point with
Yeah,
DeJuan
yeah.
Jones. I keep forgetting about DeJuan because it just happened so early in the
It
season.
was and I was looking at that on the screen here in the preview for the Portland game, and every time I see Dewan injured, I'm like, God, that really sucks. Um, Shout out Dewan. We're hoping that you're recovering well. I actually saw him at the game 2 days ago, so he's able to move. That's good. But we're getting into the Portland game. They are, I guess, in better form than us. Just that they have a win against Kansas City, which, of course, they have in their last 3 games. They have a win against Kansas City, then they have a draw to Montreal, whatever. Portland Timbers has a 2-0 loss to Inter Miami in their last game. Whereas the Quakes, we drew to Vancouver, we lost 3-2 to Seattle, and we lost 3-2 to Dallas. I would say that the draw to Vancouver is a really good result, seeing as how good Vancouver have been. It's not great to lose, and I don't think that you can really say too much about the results where we didn't pick up any points. Where we definitely could have gotten 2 draws here in the last 2 games, but that's not the case. So numerically, in the last 3 games, Portland's in better form, but they are also still in 12th place. How do you see this game going into it?
Well, we've never won in Portland in our history in MLS, so I have low expectations for any result of any kind. The refereeing has not been kind to us in Portland, and neither have the results, and neither has the field, to be honest. So, in terms of expectations heading into the game, I'm expecting maybe like a 2-1 loss, maybe 3-1. We'll probably hang in there for the first 60 minutes, but I think after the Colorado game, there's a lot of catch up at play for the Earthquakes, considering we're in the U.S. Open Cup and Portland is not. So I believe they'll have a bit of a longer break, and we have to utilize a lot of those substitutes. Knowing Bruce Arena, I believe he's trying to prioritize the U.S. Open Cup, wants to bring some silverware back to San Jose, and the U.S. Open Cup is the best way to do it. Therefore, I believe we're going to put forth our best starting 11 that we saw versus FC Dallas towards Colorado, and then maybe make some rotations versus Portland to send us into the World Cup break. So I am not expecting much at all heading into Portland. We might see another Nani start, to be honest. Do you have any expectations, Abram?
I mean, I think that on paper we should win, just because Portland isn't as good as we are. But like you said, they have history on their side, and also the fact that we are in the Open Cup. So the paper might be lying here, right? And I'm looking at the stats here. In 42 games against Portland, we have won 8, drawn 12, and lost 22. So it's not great in terms of the numbers. But like I said, their place in the table shows that they have not been great this season. I believe that they've kind of turned things around a little bit lately. But yeah, this Open Cup game is going to be really tough, especially because I do agree with you. I think that that's the game that Bruce is going to prioritize, even though when you asked him, he said, we're going to win both games. Like, yeah. He was always going to
try
say
to win
that.
both games. It's an Earthquakes game. Like,
Yeah.
Points and...
I want to lose against Portland. That's what we're going to do. We're going to go to Portland and lose. Like, obviously,
we're going to prioritize Colorado, and then we won't even head to Portland.
Yeah.
We're going to stay back in San Jose.
We're going to take the 3-0 defeat and forfeit that game. Yeah, of course, that's not what he's going to say.
Not happening.
But I am excited about that Colorado game because they are in really bad form. From at least the last episode when I looked at their stats, they weren't doing very well. I don't have them in front of me right now. But I know you have the early out, Devon, so we're gonna probably close this episode here.
Yeah, well, actually, before we close it,
Sure.
I think we need to recognize an incoming player.
Yes.
Someone that Earthquakes players and fans are somewhat recognized of, and he's coming from Phoenix Rising FC.
Mm-hmm.
They're number 22 right winger when he played against us, but normally he plays left wing for Phoenix. His name is Darius Johnson. He's quick on the ball, quick feet, really skillful. Came from England, Chelsea's U21 player. Then I think played in the Dutch league for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
And then in 2024 came over to the United States to play with Phoenix Rising. Since then he's been playing with them, and after the U.S. Open Cup, where he absolutely cooked
Jack Skane.
Jack Skane, I think Bruce took a liking to him and was like, hey, I want him. He's my guy now.
Nice.
So,
yeah.
As Tom Bogert had unveiled the other day, talks are closing in. It looks like, we're going to pick him up within this week. So keep an eye out on Darius Johnson to San Jose.
Yeah, we had covered Darius last week on with Saz, but it's now confirmed by Bogert. Yeah, very excited for Darius Johnson. Very excited for next week's episode. We're going to talk about the aftermath of the Portland game. We won't have another Quakes game for a while after that due to the World Cup break. We might do a little bit of talk about the World Cup shortly, but this is a Quakes podcast, so we're not going to focus too much on that. We'll just, I guess, talk about the first part of the season and how we felt we've done so far. But until then, we'll see you guys next time, and go Quakes.
Go Quakes.